Jay-Z ain't playing with y'all, man. To all the conspiracy theorists, podcasters, YouTubers, man, get ready to start putting the fries in the bag. Jay-Z has waged a full-on war against anybody playing with his name. Anybody. And it all started off with this new accusation that came out led by Tony Busby, who claimed a 13-year-old made some very serious accusations against Jay-Z. Jay-Z always thought that Tony Busby was a con man and he was trying to extort him, which is why he went with these obviously false claims against him, trying to shake him for some paper. Jay-Z wasn't going for it. He refused to pay Tony Busby any money and actually sued him for playing with his name. Well, usually we have to wait a year or two to see how these things play out in court. This is the fastest I think we've ever got a conclusion to knowing the actual truth. You see, this quote-unquote victim decided to do an interview. Now, I don't know what Tony Busby was doing, right? Allowing this person to do an interview, but the victim came out and did an interview. And this interview essentially sealed their fate, essentially made it perfectly clear to everybody watching Jay-Z is completely innocent, and this person is an absolute fraud and liar.
You should always advocate for yourself and be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did run your life.
Tony Busby, the lawyer bringing this case upon Jay-Z, should be ashamed of himself, bruh. Clearly she's autistic. Clearly she's mentally ill. To exploit a mentally ill person to this extent and then throw them to the wolves like NBC with research and experienced investigators to then cross-examine this mentally ill person's story that they probably made up in their head, you should be ashamed of yourself, Tony Busby. And I'm not saying just because they are autistic, right, they're making stuff up. Also, too, bruh, if we want to really get a little bit more controversial, bruh, is Jay-Z that pressed, that thirsty to take some mentally ill cheeks, to take some autistic cheeks, bro? Like, come on, son.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a lawsuit accusing Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of raping her when she was 13 years old is speaking out to NBC News for the first time. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come forward and talk today?
Because I think that I've been quiet long enough about what I've been through, and it's been hard enough to be quiet, but it's a chapter of my life that I'd like to close.
I wouldn't put it past this person to be faking autism actively in that interview. Now, NBC is very slick. You see, NBC is giving them the "you're fired" treatment. If you've ever been fired, you know what I'm talking about. When you go into that room and they shut the door behind you and they start to read off your infractions and listening to your excuse for each infraction. Like, yo, you was late 4 times this month. What happened? Yo, my daughter got hit by the school bus. I had to take her to the hospital. And they will look you in your eyes and say, Well, you called out 4 times this year. What happened? My mom died in February. My grandmom died in March. I had to attend their funerals. I was sick with pneumonia. And they look you dead in your eyes and say, and then after they empathize and say, mom died, I'm sorry. They take that piece of paper, man, and they slam it in your face and say, well, we're going to have to let you go today. Right? And that's what NBC did. So NBC listened to all her lies, and then NBC just exposed each lie she told them in the interview. It's beautiful.
An NBC News review of her account found inconsistencies with her allegations. She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000 to catch a glimpse of her favorite celebrities.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
No, with having autism is like feeling like you live your life in a shatterproof juggle ball. The world's on fire. The fire is inside the ball with you, but there's no way for you to get out.
In addition to having autism, the woman says she suffered a head injury. The night of the 2000s VMAs, she says a friend drove her from Rochester, New York to Manhattan, a more than 5-hour drive. Her attorney provided NBC News with the name of the friend who has since died.
Come on. Yo, Tony Busby, you should be ashamed of yourself, man. First off, lying on a dead man is crazy. But it's so convenient, right? That the person who drove you, the alibi, is apparently dead. Okay, buddy. All right. So nonetheless, a 13-year-old caught a ride from a friend who drove him 5 hours to NYC and then abandoned him there and went back to Rochester. The VMAs weren't over until 11 p.m. So they would have anticipated, if they were going to go home right after the VMA, they would have anticipated they would be getting home at 4 a.m., a 13-year-old. A 13-year-old getting home at 4 a.m. and her parents weren't concerned about where she was. Now, that right there, this inconsistency is just the scratch of the surface. They get deeper and deeper, and the inconsistencies get worse.
The woman says she spoke to Combs's limo driver, who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy's driver, who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo because, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper because I have a religious background. So it was just something to talk about.
This is the beginning of where the entire story falls apart. The brothers who she claimed she talked to, they were never there. They were on tour, nowhere in sight. This is where it becomes perfectly clear that this is either a mentally ill person being coached by Tony Busby to say things that aren't true so he could extort people, or this is a mentally ill person who essentially is having a mental episode, they're schizophrenic, they're just saying anything, and a thirsty lawyer like Tony Busby was thirsty enough to take on this case, not really caring about the truth because he just wanted to try to extort somebody. Because he knows that for most celebrities who aren't Jay-Z, just paying off a quick $100,000, that's an easier process than having to go through this court and prove that you're innocent, especially when it comes to an incident that took place almost 30 years ago and it's a he said, she said. It's better off you just pay that person to go away. That's what he was, I guess, counting on, because this story right here doesn't even make sense and doesn't even hold up in the eye of the public. But it gets worse, believe it or not.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative of the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in and rapes me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the
After the alleged
For the likes of me, I can't seem to understand or wrap my head around why Busby would open up his client to speak knowing they're ill-prepared, knowing they're autistic. Because certain things like telling us a story where details are very important and then telling us a detail about how your father picked you up, his 13-year-old, at about 1 a.m. in the morning, he picked you up and he didn't ask where you were, why you're 5 hours away, what you was doing, where's the friend that dropped you off, why do you look like you were crying? He didn't ask none of this. Y'all took a 5-hour drive back home after he drove 5 hours to you, 10 hours total, and he asked no questions about your whereabouts? It's things like this that probably sounds great in the head of somebody mentally ill. But for regular people, bruh, this right here wouldn't make sense at all. And it doesn't, now unless Tony Busby is throwing her to the wolves because he's being sued, right? Because he's being sued by Jay-Z for trying to extort him. So, he's throwing her to the wolves to say essentially, haha, see? No, she was lying. I was just representing her. Now, her story breaks down further because the story of Jay-Z and Diddy being there with another female celebrity, bruh, that story ultimately got proven to have been impossible.
She says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, "I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind," he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. "I have made some mistakes," she said. "Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me."
In the beginning of the interview, they also added a little detail of, I bumped my head. I had a head injury at some point in my life after that incident. So some of the details may not be true, but it's because I'm autistic and have a head injury. Come on, bruh. Completely deceptive. You think a father wouldn't remember picking up his 13-year-old daughter at 2 a.m. after a 5-hour drive? Obviously, it's cap. And the father is saying, I don't care how much money you're trying to extort out of this man, bruh. I don't want no parts. Even the possibility of maybe getting 100,000, I don't want it, bruh. All right, I don't want it. The father, who's the only living alibi, they can't attest, and the other person is dead, so they can't attest. But the story breaks down further.
The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, "Because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress." In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, "This incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory."
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
Yeah, I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out than I am of being chastised by their fans.
A few days ago, I dropped a video where I personally took a look at the particular allegations and just used common sense and internet research with publicly available information. And I was able to find that Diddy and Jay-Z weren't even at the same party at the VMAs in 2000, right? They wasn't even at the same after party. And it looks like NBC independently verified that as well, right? Like they verified Diddy and Jay-Z were not at the same after party. So they don't know what she's talking about at all. So every way this goes, it's been confirmed and verified, bruh, that all the allegations they're making is false. But apparently Jay-Z isn't just satisfied or content with suing Tony Busby or sending this accuser a message. No, Jay-Z is apparently ready to sue Jaguar Wright. He's doing it. Right? He's finally suing Jaguar Wright. He's going after the YouTube conspiracy theorists. Now, if you're unaware what people like Jaguar Wright have been saying about Jay-Z, well, let's cue the footage.
You want to know why there's no vindication for me? Because for 4 years, I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
Jay-Z has been notable by his silence since these charges were brought against Diddy. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what he does. He starts little fires everywhere, forces everyone involved to go and carry water while he sneaks away without a response. That changes now, Sean. You must respond. You have no choice. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common, professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through our culture and our society for decades. It must stop.
And if putting Jay-Z in the same company as Epstein, Weinstein, and Diddy ain't bad enough, Jaguar Wright will up the ante by accusing Jay-Z of being involved in Aaliyah's death and claiming this was purposeful.
Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Free, who is a victim of Sean.
There's no foundation to the accusation that Jay-Z got Aaliyah out of here to boost up Beyonce's career. To me, that's just asinine, especially if there's no truth or proof to this. But here's what's really interesting too, and here's why Jay-Z is going after Jaguar Wright. See, Jaguar Wright went on Piers Morgan and said she got a couple people willing to come forward and testify against Jay-Z. Jaguar Wright was also on other podcasts over the year claiming that she has 9 witnesses who want to come forward with recordings and other things that they can testify that Jay-Z did to them. There's things ranging from trafficking, rape, etc., murders. So it would appear that Jaguar Wright may be behind this woman who came forward to accuse Jay-Z of doing this to her at 13. And she may be behind other women coming forward in the future. So Jay-Z is trying to get ahead of the storm.
Let me ask you this. If you were to name who you think is next on the chopping block, because I believe there's a chopping block, and there might be.
Well, there is Sean Carter. They're trying to avoid him. I'm going to make sure they can't. I have a total of 9 witnesses that are about to start coming forward. I'm going to walk them one by one. But the things that these people have to tell, and the video evidence and the recordings that they have, it's worse than Diddy.
Worse than Diddy.
Yeah. And a lot of psyops, a lot of psychological operations being ran on employees, mothers of secret children, interns that refused to sign non-disclosure agreements. Their lives were literally blown to smithereens. I was lucky to survive him. Aaliyah wasn't. Beyonce wanted. She wanted what he was selling.
The thing with Jaguar Wright is because Jaguar Wright was right about Diddy, that people automatically think she's right about Jay-Z. And people have been waiting for Jay-Z's downfall primarily because Jaguar Wright have been on these podcasts saying Jay-Z downfall is coming soon. And it looks like she's looking to spearhead Jay-Z's downfall. And the one thing on social media that everybody says is, why haven't nobody sued Jaguar Wright yet if she's lying? So it looks like Jay-Z is trying to give the people what they want. Jaguar Wright should prove her claims in court. Like, Jaguar Wright isn't just saying, yo, Diddy's a monster. No, she is putting murders on this man. Right? She put multiple. Jaguar Wright also put the murder of Kathy White, which is apparently one of Jay-Z's side chicks at some point.
She actually died screaming, and the Carters are responsible. But one of them is just a little more responsible than the other. Question is, did Sean Carter delete his mistress, his pregnant mistress, because his wife was jealous?
Jaguar Wright may be a lunatic, but the reason why she's a little bit more credible than the other clout chasing lunatics out there is because Jaguar Wright was once a signed artist. She was once involved in the fold. She was once dealing with Scott Storch. Jaguar Wright at some point was so involved and knew a lot. And Jaguar Wright is also a very convincing storyteller. Yo, Jaguar Wright can tell you a story and you will feel like you're there. Jaguar Wright is able to be so convincing that, yo, she can tell you, hey, yo, pigs can fly. It's actually the government fault why pigs can't fly. Jaguar Wright will sell you on that, and by the time she's done, you'll start thinking, oh yeah, my pig can fly. Of course my pig can fly. It's the government fault I don't have a flying pig. So it's because Jaguar Wright is so convincing. Jaguar Wright it's such a captivating storyteller that when she tells these stories, bruh, you can't help but think, maybe it's not 100% true, but maybe there's something there. So that's what Jay-Z is currently fighting against, yo. The allegations were there, and if it wasn't for Tony Busby and this totally incompetent accuser, Jay-Z would have been working from behind the 8 ball. It's almost like being accused of doing the worst thing you can ever be accused of doing, save Jay-Z's life, because when the first accusation is false and the first accusation is sort of like a money grab and extortion and it's clearly fake, what that does is it now sets the precedent of, hey, Jay-Z just beat the first allegations. These people are trying to tear Jay-Z down. These people is coming after Jay-Z. This is all a money grab. Protect Jay-Z. So now when you come with a second or third or fourth accusation, bro, you got to overprove it. Like, you got to bring something where it's a video evidence. We can see Jay-Z doing it. Because if it's not video evidence, bro, the public ain't going for it. They had one chance to do this and they dropped the ball. So hopefully, man, let's see what happens, all right? But y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, man? Do you guys feel like Jaguar Wright is credible? Do y'all feel like the first accuser, are they credible? Let me know, all right? And if you're still watching, click on this video here somewhere on my screen. Rather it's at the top, to the bottom, to the right, but the video will be somewhere on my screen, all right? Click on this to find out why Amanda Seales has officially hit rock bottom. I'm going to see you guys in this video right here. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.